Hello, this is Alex, and welcome to my review of the full release version of Skul the Hero Slayer on PC. Skul is a Cranium swapping roguelite action game where you play as the enemy trying to fend off the realm's greatest heroes, those health potion chugging jerks. You know, you've been them. The main standout mechanic that is the real hook of Skul is its fairly unique character class system that has you attaching different heads, which transform you into drastically different types of characters. From alchemists and samurai to rock stars and even the main character from Dead Cells, it's going to take many hours just to see the entire roster of cool characters this jams into it. Every Skul has multiple active abilities they can spawn with, entirely unique movesets, passive effects, and special attacks you can trigger by switching out to your other equipped Skul. Having two of these available to function as your overall build makes for a really satisfying synergizing class system. These Skuls come in different rarities, which indicates roughly how powerful they are, and you can even upgrade most all of the Skuls up to higher rarities. This changes some of their moveset, the abilities they have access to, and appearance, which makes evolving these strange little creatures all the more addicting. During a run, you can cross your fingers hoping that you get a super powerful Skul to drop, or you can focus on recycling the bones off of Skuls you don't need, using those to then power up a low-ranking Skul all the way up into being a powerhouse. The creativity poured into making these Skuls feel really different and fun to play as makes for a cast of character classes that is so good, you could pick out any one of these Skuls and easily star just them in their own solid 2D action platformer. Outside of the Skuls and the abilities they come with, you'll also be acquiring a Quintessence item which provides a passive buff while also functioning as a third active ability. You will also be snagging different gear items that come with 2 stat improvements while also providing a passive bonus. You can build out your characters by focusing on either gathering a wide variety of the exact passives you want, or aim for their growing stat improvements instead. This is something you'll need to regularly consider if you want to craft a build solid enough to see a run through to the very end, but of course, some elements of chance will dictate how well a run is going. You will really need to harness all these different Skul types and the item synergies because the game is quite challenging and you will likely be dying a lot. You will be acquiring a persistent currency, however, that can be used back at your home base castle to improve your chances on the next run. The skill tree is your main progression at chipping away at the game's difficulty over time, along with of course your growing knowledge of how everything is trying to kill you. This style of progression is repetitive by design, so make sure you're prepared for dozens and dozens of failed attempts, but you do usually make it a little further each time. This repetition does come with 2 slight disadvantages, one of which is seeing the same area bosses over and over with no real unpredictability to who you'll be facing off against. Be prepared to kill Tree Dude more times than you would probably like. The other downside is the somewhat basic level generation that doesn't really shake things up too much between runs. There might be a few traps or jump pads sprinkled about, but for the most part, these levels are more like little combat arenas rather than your more standard action platformer levels. Luckily, the action gameplay is so gratifying, the somewhat barren areas don't really take away all that much from the fun pixelated carnage. Overall, you will likely become addicted to anticipating what crazy new Skul character you'll come across every attempt, making for one of those classic, just one more run style of games. This is ultimately really a no-brainer. Skul the Hero Slayer is absolutely worth grabbing if you enjoy roguelites, 2D action games, and have a skeletal system. And those were my final thoughts on Skul the Hero Slayer. Let me know what you think of it if you played it while it was in early access, or if you'll be picking it up now. I think it plays great, offers easily at least 20 hours of content if not much more, and I'm hoping it eventually makes its way to the consoles and possibly even gets a full-blown sequel. Now if you happen to enjoy the style of this review, consider sticking around on the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. As always, this has been Alex from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for checking this out.